Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Trade the Chain. There's been, as usual, something happening, hitting the news wires this week. Obviously, that's caused some price movements in both BTC and ETH, as well as across the broader markets. So we'll go to the big boards today. Our hot or not list after that will be Cardano, ADA. Our not will be Yearn Finance, YFI, for you guys that don't know that. Big downturn in that. And then as well as Monero, XMR. So CJ Monte picked up on the chart for XMR during the course of this week, and it looks like there's going to be a stop to a little action on that. So they'll explain that for you. And then the big news item of the week, OKEx. The founder being questioned by police and hasn't shown up for work in weeks. So we'll go over that and see how that's actually affected the broader markets and possibly what lies ahead. So Monty and CJ from Market Rebellion, our analysts here. Let's go to the big boards and see what's happening.
Thanks for having us.
So like you mentioned, we've had a lot of interesting developments this week, and looking at the charts, there's a lot of reason to be short-term bearish right now. I think not only the fundamental news that's happened, so we had all this fundamental positive news earlier in the week, right? Like this domino effect of all these major financial institutions getting involved in crypto, and that drove the market up. And I think now we're starting to see, and we started to see that a little bit earlier in the week too. We saw bulls taking profit and price kind of starting to reverse a little bit right now. And I think that the profit taking in combination with the negative news coming out from OKEx and how their withdrawals are suspended, I think in the interim, it's going to be a short-term reversal.
Yeah, and starting on the weekly chart here, I think you make a lot of good points, because once we get into these technicals, especially on shorter term timeframes, you'll be able to see that while we did have negative news that drove price down a little bit, it was hiding in the technicals, and there were plenty of warning signs. I'm kind of going to be playing Monday morning quarterback a little bit. Nevertheless, we're going to foreshadow what's also going to possibly happen throughout the rest of the week. But starting here on the weekly chart, you see we get a beautiful green 2 candle close above the previous one. Very bullish sign. We had a nice continuation with this green 3, but now we're pulling back, as Monty said, and kind of looking more as if we might form a doji going into the end of the week, which is more characteristic of a potential reversal. So not really good from a bullish perspective. Now I want to get into the shorter term time frames, specifically the daily, because while I said, while there was negative news that drove price action down, presumably, there was a lot of profit taking coming on this 9. So when we reach a green 9 like this, breaking 2 very strong resistance levels, we're very likely going to get a reversal, at least for like 4 or 5 days. And you saw the exact same thing happened here when we ran up all the way to 11K back in like midway through September. We hit a 9, hit that resistance, and then slowly come back and have that reversal. But we're still continuing these higher lows. And this time we got rejected at a higher resistance level, which is promising. But I think that we're going to have like 2, 3, maybe 4, even 4 more days of bearish to neutral price action, possibly retest this 11.2 or even 11,000 level before then going up and testing these higher resistance levels. So interim bearish, neutral, but still long-term bullish. So that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin.
And when it comes to now, if we're about to go into a reversal here for a little bit, say the next 3-4 days, are you looking for a big pullback, or is it just basically, is it going to be like another no trade zone, or is it going to be, hey, watch it, you may want to take some profits, or like our friend Rob does on Digital Asset News, maybe it's time to start loading up on the dip and dollar cost averaging, right? So what do you guys, what do you think the play is for everybody out there?
For me, if you're a person that likes to take on a little risk when they're trading, I think right now is a great time to go short on Bitcoin. Like CJ said, We're setting up with some really good support levels underneath the current price, which is what I look for when I'm setting a short trade. So when I know when to get out of it, and I know when to start thinking about taking profit, because reversals can happen so fast, especially with Bitcoin. So for me, like, not only do these technicals indicate a reversal, I think there's just a lot of good price points to take profit below the current price. So I might enter short with the goal of taking profit at just above 11.2, so maybe like 11.27, and then taking some profit there, and maybe even continuing down closer to 11K, because I do think the technicals are there, the fundamentals are there. I think price could retest 11K in the next few days.
Well, I will say, Monty, you've had a good streak of your short call, so hopefully this continues. What are we seeing on the Ethereum side? What's ETH doing? Is it following its bigger brother, so to speak, or is it doing something on its own?
Yeah, well, this is particularly interesting. I mean, it clearly is following to an extent, but for me, it's a little bit different right now, especially if you're looking at this daily chart. So Ethereum had a sharp sell-off. I think it was a little bit steeper than Bitcoin's, and it broke below that moving average, but it did find actually some strong support. So it was a pretty significant dip. And one thing that I think kind of really saved Ethereum here was the volume that Uniswap saw over the past 48 hours. It's a tremendous volume. I think its volume exceeded its market cap. So the Ethereum network was experiencing lots of volume. So I think right now it's interesting that we're having a little bit of divergence between the technicals of ETH and the technicals of Bitcoin.
And you bring up a good point too. I mean, a little support there happening from something that's, not directly with Ethereum, but yet, it's utilizing Ethereum. If DeFi wasn't there, we probably would have seen a larger dip in the coin as a whole.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we're on to our hot or not list, and we have one hot today, and it's Cardano, ADA. And if we take a look at the charts, Cardano's been having a good comeback after getting a little caught in the trough. But from a technical aspect, is it really a hot CJ Monty, or are we looking for a pullback, or are we going to possibly see a breakout depending on the resistance levels?
Yeah, so ADA was one that we had in our service earlier this week. What I was looking for was this inverse head and shoulders pattern with the head here and then coming off towards the right shoulder. Now, that did break out if you played it earlier on. Unfortunately, I didn't. I wanted to wait till we had confirmation of this breakout above the recent resistance level. Happened, but it was more of a fake out, and then quickly retraced back. And now we're in the middle of a price flip from a green 7-1 to a red 1, which is meaning that bearish price action is likely to continue. Personally, what I think is likely is that we kind of correct to maybe this level or a similar support level at around 10 cents or just under or just above 9 cents, and then test higher. So that's what I think is likely. Now, that's not necessarily what is possible, but that's what I think is likely. Do you have any other?
We've been getting a decent amount of questions on the TA stuff, and one of the things that you just mentioned was you were waiting for confirmation, and you're waiting for confirmation, even though it had a pattern of days of propping up and moving higher, but you wanted it to cross a certain threshold, and that really to solidify that, hey, it can be supported and go up. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, and you'll see that exactly what I'm talking about when I say that in Monero, our next one on the list, because that's a perfect example of something that was creating higher highs and breaking through these confirmation levels that I was looking for. So you'll see that in the next one as well.
All right, cool. Well, let's just jump into it. Into the not list, we have we're starting out with Monero XMR. This is one that Monty and CJ picked up on this week during its trend, and they think they think it's about to slow up a little.
Yeah, this is just beautiful TA. I mean, just textbook, because we go all the way up, and this actually broke out a lot faster than I was expecting. We had a huge green 7 candle that flushed us through the $130 price level. This was on Asian volume at around 7 p.m. Chicago time. But we were watching that, and I was very impressed by that bullish price action. I think it got a little ahead of itself. Nevertheless, what you can see here is we reach the green sequential 9, same thing as Bitcoin, and now we're seeing another reversal. And since we've gone up so high, so fast, what that does is it ultimately creates weak support levels so that on the downside, there's not as much buy pressure that wants to step in on these support levels. But back to what you were saying when we were talking about ADA and waiting for confirmation, this was a previous example. And I know, guys, hindsight always looks better, but when we were waiting for confirmation, there was a trade in our service on this green 1. I was waiting for confirmation because I wanted to see it break above the previous high of 108. When it did that, that got me enough conviction to enter a long trade. Now, of course, the next 2 days, you take a little heat and price goes, but you have your stop set, you trust it, you trust these higher lows, and the bulls keep going. Now, at our current point, I think we've gone to a temporary top, but I want to compare this with Voyager's top from a few months ago because it looks very, very similar. All right, let's see where. So same thing here with Voyager, right? Once we had that run up, we temporarily topped on a 9 and we went through a 1 to 4 red candle correction on the sequential indicator. Then we had enough bullish momentum to keep going up and actually create a new high. So Monero may do that, but when you look at the distance between these two highs, is it really worth holding? And my answer is probably not, because we're probably going to see a correction that looks something like this,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be holding that. And so if we go back to XMR and look where we're at, it's kind of like a preview of almost a foreshadowing of that bearish price action that could come.
All right.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting too, because I think you make a great point about the lack of buy pressure here, and that's what makes this such a bearish looking chart. I mean, if you just look at the candles themselves, it does look pretty similar to Cardano, where we have the topping on the 9 followed by a doji and the reversal, but the price levels are just so different. With Cardano, you've got the buy pressure at 10 cents, you got the moving average below it. Here, there's really no incentive to buy all the way down until 100, and that's where that moving average is. So yeah, I think the lack of buy pressure is going to lead to some bearish price action for sure.
Well, talking about the bearish pressure here, Yearn Finance, YFI, which is next on our not list, it's we're in the teens as far as price. This thing was double its value just not too long ago, and there's been a lot of stories coming out of the DeFi space. What is the rationale for why we keep seeing lower lows with this coin, and what are we going to expect in the short term from it?
For me, this reminds me of almost a 2017 cryptomania, because when this was first released on exchanges and it hit Coinbase and Voyager, people started buying this coin up like crazy. I mean, I don't know if it was just the price that appealed to them, and like just because the price was higher, they saw it as a better opportunity to make money. But for those that got in early, it did work out great, obviously. But I mean, for me, this coin has clearly topped. The technicals just are looking incredibly bearish. It hit that red 9, did not get the reversal, just continued to decline. Then hits another red 9, still declining. For me, would not touch this with a 20-foot pole. And yeah, I think it's gonna retest
Monty,
10,000 soon.
look at that all-time high, man. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
that's just
that's
insane price action. That's like Berkshire Hathaway crypto prices.
It's like we always talk about in crypto, you know, the counterintuitive penny stock type price action where you have, you know, Cardano, XRP, Tron, all these things that are a cent or not even a cent. Here you have Yearn that's like, I looked at it, I'm like, is this the right chart? It's 14,000. But Monty and what he says is spot on. I mean, the market just has no idea how to value these things, just like the market had no idea how to value Bitcoin Cash when it first launched. Anyone who remembers that drop knows it was entertaining. But I mean, we do get a nice little 1 to 4 candle correction of the opposite color when we hit on these nines. Here, not so much. But remember when I always talk about buying high and then selling higher on interim timeframes? This is an example of selling something low and then trying to buy it back even lower, because
It's just
there's
not
no
working out,
support
man.
here, and we're already breaking past previous lower lows. So I'm not going to short an altcoin just because I don't want to end up on the other side of that. But if I was going to, the technicals look very appealing on this chart.
And do we? I mean, listen, with everything in DeFi, there's been the fair share of scams in it, and every week you hear a different story. But I mean, is the time up for YFI? Is this just a pattern where it's just gonna depress to some price that the market can stomach and stick there?
Yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome, is that we're just going to see this thing slowly fade until, like you said, it finds the price that it's actually valued at. And I think CJ makes a great point by saying that the market just has no idea where to value this coin, and the only way to find that out will be time and trading volume. So I think yeah, we'll see this thing drop down potentially to back where it started, maybe even lower. But yeah, the market just needs to accurately price this thing, and it's coming.
Well, we saw oil go negative earlier this year. Can that happen in crypto?
If it can, this might be one to do it.
This might be it. Well, I mean, guys, on to the big news of the week. And you know, I sit there on Mondays and I go, when is the shoe going to drop on the news cycle? Are we going to make it to Friday without something dramatic happening? And of course, this week was no different. No, we weren't. And to wake up to this article right here, I was just dumbfounded, you know, just dumbfounded. I mean, the founder is reportedly under investigation. The first thing I heard, because of, you know, I work in the capital market space, is withdrawals are suspended, and OKEx is not a small player. Then you hear, you know, the guy hasn't shown up to work, and we're talking about the founder of the exchange, hasn't shown up to work in like a week or so. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. And OKEx private key holders are cooperating with authorities. I mean, that has to make for one hell of a run on an exchange if you put all those bullet points together. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that thing's got more flags than a Chinese nationalist party just out front of. Anyways, yeah, this is crypto. It's good that.
It's hard for you to speak.
I mean, yeah, this is just pretty shocking. There's a lot of things that are just like the fact that such a massive exchange can have like a central point of failure and like just be shut down and withdrawals suspended. Like you said, this is not a small player in the space at all. This is a huge player. And I mean, it's really interesting to see this happening, particularly in China, right? With them trying to release their own digital currency. They've been cracking down on exchanges for a while. But I just think, I mean, to me, this is very, there's a lot of fishy things happening.
Monty, I have an idea. I think because the airdrop with the digital yuan happened, right? And so maybe they want to be number one crypto in China. Maybe because they're the government, this is their way of taking out the competition, right?
Yeah, and they absolutely could. They totally could.
Well, I mean, CJ, you mentioned earlier with CZ over at Binance. I mean, he threw out a tweet in reference to this issue. What did he have to say?
So he took to Twitter immediately as this happened, being one of the other massive, prominent Asian exchanges, largest in the world. And he wanted to reassure us all here that the funds in Binance and really the majority of exchanges and brokerages at this point, I can tell you Voyager definitely does not store funds in one single entity. They have more of a multi-sig type purpose, similar to what Binance is describing here, where they have decentralized technologies, so they have no ability to have to rely on a single point of failure. So he goes into this a little bit more with just kind of their signature and how they store these keys and these funds. So you can check that out. I'm not going to go into it in depth right now, but that's what CZ.
And I think it's good for these guys to be doing, right? So every time something like this happens, it's always, these guys always try to cover their butts and say, hey, listen, this is why it doesn't happen with us, and they explain it. And for the average bear, I think that's great for them to do, because then the regular person is seeing that and saying, okay, I see what Binance does. I see what their protocol is and their procedures. I get a little more comfort. But, you know, when something like this happens, you know, it hit the markets. It moved prices. I literally, it's the equivalent of Donald Trump tweeting in the equity world. And I just, you know, the institutions, they see this, man. They see this. They see this, and this is why there's not big adoption. It's almost like, as a marketplace, as a market in its own right, crypto, we're weeding the bad and weak out, right? It's like an order of attrition. It's like how, you know, Earth is, or something like that. So hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, hopefully. But I mean, it's just weird because, like, we have Arthur Hayes last week getting charged, and now Starzu getting charged in Asia. It's like it's happening all over the world by all these different government authorities. Like you said, these institutions, they have good reason to be hesitant with regulators cracking down like this. So,
has Arthur Hayes tweeted since that day, or is he like dyed his hair and is on the lam or something?
Well, did you guys see the fake tweet from an account who like put their, okay, yeah.
That was hilarious, man. The one where he made fun of the CFTC or something like that. Like,
oh yeah. And he's like, now I know how it feels to be liquidated.
That was one of the best tweets. And it took me about 10 minutes to figure out it wasn't from his authorized account.
Oh, yeah.
But it was great. On a parting note, you guys are getting closer and closer with the crypto room at marketrebellion.com. Any updates we got going on there?
Yeah, let's just show you the page and show you where you can find everything. So we are in beta right now, and we have availability for all existing Market Rebellion members, but that's going to change in the first week of November, as we were planned to go live and release our full version. So, I mean, we actually just put this site together last night, but just to show you some of the charting functionality, like we're going to have multiple charting features. We have the sequential indicator. We're going to have tons of options like that. We have our link with Voyager that you can execute trades when you link both of the apps together. And then we have our crypto education curriculum as well. So a ton of stuff. Go check it out. You can register before we launch here to know every update before when we go live. But we're very excited, and we hope you will be as well. But that's coming very soon. If you want to learn more, you can go to marketrebellion.com/Bitcoin and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I've seen some of their stuff that they're building out. It looks exciting. It's catered to the everyday person wanting to get into crypto, wanting to learn more of the stuff that Monty and CJ do on this show and stuff like that. So definitely hit them out. Links down below in description. Guys, until next week, let's keep the markets green. Take it easy, everybody.
Take care.
Or red if you're on Monty's side.